WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. You're listening to the Director's Cut with Nic Rohloff and Tyler Smith. We got a big show for you guys today, and it starts with a guest, our station manager, resident New York sports, we call him super fan,
junkie,
Tom Sipe, joining us here early. Listen, this is the biggest Mets fan I've ever met. I think I might ever meet. And we were talking pre-show, and Tom, you said that you can recall almost any game, just given a date, since starting 2015?
Yeah, it's very unhealthy. Yeah, it's very, very unhealthy. But I think so. I think 2015, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. And our first segment is just New York sports, so let's dive into it. We'll start with the worst team in New York, which you didn't think you would say this at this point in time, but we are. The New York Yankees, they stink. Tyler, that's your team.
Yeah, they're horrible. I didn't even watch the last game, and I really should have, because that was just a spectacle. I mean, guys throwing balls on the field, that is just the most electric thing I've ever seen at Yankee Stadium, and since they've won a playoff game. So Yankees are a dumpster fire right now. The Mets make themselves look like they've been the bottom feeder of New York for the past 50 years, and which is just obviously the opposite. And now the Yankees are just really just taking a jump on exactly what the season was supposed to be. There's no hitting, and there's no home runs. The bullpen outside of Chad Green, and he's even been spotty at times, is atrocious. There's really no positive besides Garrett Cole right now, and it basically is giving me shades of the Mets of the past half decade. With they can't protect your boy DeGrom. I mean, Garrett Cole's going through that same treatment now. The Yankees are an absolute joke. It's not fun, but at the same time, this is a team full of home run hitters. I think that they're going to turn it around at some point. Right now, it's just not looking good.
Tom, I want to hear what you got to say on that.
One game of no run support for Garrett Cole isn't the Jacob DeGrom effect. Okay, let's just make that obvious.
Well, I'm a Yankee fan, so that's how kind of we kind of rationalize things. We see something bad once, and then that's the narrative for the rest of the season. So
I thought I was an overreactor, but after hearing that was a little bit much. But I think the Yankees' problems obviously isn't Garrett Cole. It's literally everything else. You mentioned the bullpen besides Chad Green. It's horrendous. The starting rotation, which everyone knew had so many question marks. Oh, we have Corey Kluber, Jameson. I never pronounce his name right. Italian is how I say it, but I think it's wrong. And Domingo Germán, Luis Severino. Those guys combined for one inning last year, and they have just been brutal so far this year. And it doesn't really surprise me. I think obviously the Yankees will be fine, but it's the rotation, in my opinion, that it's just the Yankees' problem.
Well, I mean, now we're having guys retire out of nowhere. I mean,
come on, it's Jay Bruce.
Listen,
us Mets fans know Jay Bruce.
Who's going to play first base for the next however month and a half? I mean, once Luke Voit comes back, I'm going to have a better picture of what this team is. But until then, I mean, there's just guys. I mean, Judge has right side soreness. Won't even tell you where he's hurt. He just has right side soreness, and he'll be out for 2 days. I mean, it's not exactly the ideal situation to be a Yankee fan right now. It's bad. It really is.
Well, you guys talked about the bullpen, but I mean, two of your quote-unquote top hitters are struggling out the gates here. Gleyber Torres, 196, errors all over the place. You're every Yankees' favorite player, Giancarlo Stanton's hitting 176. I don't know what happened to Stanton. Is it the bright lights of New York City? Because he was so good in Miami, and then he just comes over and it's awful.
He is just so inconsistent. That's the problem. He showed up in big moments. He's had walk-offs. He's had real big moments under the lights at Yankee Stadium, albeit they've probably come in July and no later. But he's had his fair share of moments. Now, again, I think the bats are kind of rubbing off on each other for this team right now because nobody can really hit. Aaron Hicks is an absolute joke. We have him locked up for 5 years. Thank God it's a tradable contract, because if he had actual money coming in, then he'd probably be calling for beheadment by Yankee fans in New York. I mean, I'm not that extreme, but Aaron Hicks is not helping his case as a former fan favorite in New York. Why is he batting first? I have no idea. There's just so many different issues. I could talk about so many different issues and from so many different angles for this team. There's just everything is a mess right now.
I don't know if I would declare Aaron Hicks' contract a tradable one, because it's 5 years after this one. That's an aging center fielder who can't hit, who used to have such a fantastic arm. He had that one throw when he was on the Twins that was actually ironically at Yankee Stadium, and people just salivate over his defense. And now he's had his struggles so far this year. The guy can't hit. And then you asked Nick about Stanton, and who really knows what the heck did happen to Giancarlo Stanton, because this was a guy in Miami who was so feared when he played the Mets 19 games a year. He had homered 19 times, but I don't really know what the answer is to what happened. This Yankee lineup, as Tyler alluded to, is struggling mightily.
See, I have this thing on Stanton is some players aren't just cut out for the DH. Like Stanton, obviously in the NL, he had to play right field all the time. And now he comes over the AL, and because they have Judge, they play Stanton sometimes in left, but they mostly play him at the DH spot and just have him hit. Do you think that could throw off his rhythm at the plate?
I do, and I actually love that point, because last year, funny story, I called in the WFA at like 2:30 in the morning when Sal Licata was on, because he was talking about that for Pete Alonso when he had his offensive struggles last year, and he was making the case from the BA to be the Mets DH at the time, and I wanted him in the field because you bring up a good point, as in sometimes guys I'm going to use Pete Alonso as the example just because I know him so much better. When he struggled offensively last year, it was a lot on him, and he would go down to the hitting cage and just continue to hit, and then come out and then strike out, in 2020. And that's why I kind of liked, him playing defense, because while he isn't the best first baseman defensively, he, would be able to get his mind off things when he was, in the field. And that could be a really, logical answer when it comes to Stan. Obviously we don't know, we'll never know, but it's a really interesting thing to bring up, because I think that's a real thing, the DH and always having your mind on things, and when you're struggling, it only makes it worse. So that could be an answer, and I like that point.
When the two best players in the lineup are probably catchers, and one of them plays and the other one doesn't, you got an issue. I mean, LeMahieu obviously he's the definition of consistency, and I'm so glad we didn't let him go, because could you imagine if DJ LeMahieu was down the lineup?
No, this would be ugly.
It would be,
and
he's never get on base.
He hasn't.
All the rest of the other guys do is hit home runs.
Yeah,
so.
he hasn't even had the DJ LeMahieu hitting 320 start to the season like he usually does. He's hitting 286, but that still leads the team. He leads the team in on base percentage, leads the team in hits. And the funny thing about Stan, before just going back to that, he leads the team in strikeouts, but he also leads the team in RBIs. He just is hitting at such a low clip. It's hard. It's either something or nothing. No in between for him.
Yeah, I think a grand slam helped him out on that one. So
It did.
Yeah, so it's nice when you have 12 whatever RBIs.
Yeah, it's 12. Next on the team is Aaron Judge with 8.
Yeah, so these guys are. This is really, in all honesty, for me personally. Of course, I'm an avid Mets fan. I don't really hate the Yankees. I actually enjoy watching them when the Mets are on, because I just like to know what's happening, especially in New York. So I watch a lot more Yankee games than the typical Mets fan. But this isn't really anything that's too shocking for me. I think the Yankees do this a lot. Their lineup is a lot of all or nothing hitters. And I think that this first, 16 games that they've played so far, this is just one of their stretches where they're nothing. And then at the end of April or beginning of May, they're going to be everything, and go on an 11-game win streak when they play the Orioles and whoever in a few games. So I think obviously it's a big overreaction, obviously in typical New York baseball fashion, but I think this is really nothing too shocking for me that the Yankees are struggling offensively to just get guys on base and just get a lot of singles, doubles, whatever. It's not surprising to me, because I feel like this has been what they've done since really that 2017 team. So
Tyler, you're the Yankees fan.
Yeah.
What do you think needs to be changed, and do you think the Yankees still have a chance? Because I think I brought the stat up. I'm gonna guess on the year, if my memory serves me right. Tom probably might know it. This is the first time the Yankees have been last in the AL East at any point in the season.
1968.
I had their year right.
68, 98.
98?
It was at the beginning of the season.
Okay.
No. That was the AL East. He's talking about the entire American League.
I think it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was April 12th, so it's skewed because it's the beginning of the year. They won the World
entire league was 68. So, and they
I
probably
had the year right. That was what I was going to say.
They were not very good.
All right. Well,
Point
so
being,
the
it's been a long
stats there. Do you think this team is going to end up bouncing back and making the playoffs and making their run?
They'll make the playoffs, but the problem, the good part about the Yankees struggling right now is the Red Sox, and we'll get to it when we get to our full MLB talk, is I don't think the Red Sox are going to be able to hold this for an entire season. It's very early. We've seen this from a couple teams before in recent years, but Mets. I mean, just want to talk about that.
18.
Every year.
They're 11-1 and 18.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Red Sox have enough power to keep that going for an entire 162. But the good part is this division is not the most competitive in the entire league. I thought it was one of the most competitive like before the season, but it's not looking that way at this point. So I think the Yankees have a better chance at coming back to going first than remaining in the last two spots. So I do think it's going to happen. Hicks needs to figure it out. The lineup because second and first is not working. The real thing that I think needs to that's going to power the Yankees towards a top seed in the AL is just Gleyber Torres showing up. Just show up. Defensively and offensively, he's hit 0 home runs. He's batting less than 200. He's going to be the guy, and if he wants to get paid like guys like Tatis and Lindor and these other top shortstops, he's got to play like one. And he's not right now. It's not even close. So we need our guys to come back and play like they've been playing the past 3 years from the plate.
I buy that. Let's move on to the Mets. They're first in the NL East early. The story of them so far has been the cancellation in games and the lack of games played, and 2, the Mets rotation. I'll rattle off some stats so far through the MLB. Obviously, they've played less games, so these numbers are a little different, and it's so early in the season. But as a rotation, the Mets have the second best ERA as 2.26. They have the highest strikeout percentage, the second lowest in a good way. I guess I might be saying that wrong. Walk percentage. They're first in strikeout to walk percentage. The rotation has been really good, obviously headlined by Jacob deGrom, the best pitcher in baseball. Can't really debate that. You could make a case, maybe Garrett Cole, maybe Shane Bieber, not anymore. It's so.
You could have made a case for Cole or Verlander 2 years ago, with deGrom's far ahead of the pack.
Stroman's pitching like an ace right now through 3 starts. Tom, we'll start with you because you're the monster Met fan. I mean, but you're negative. You were talking pre-show. You still don't think this team's going to win the division.
No, I think it's too early. Again, I've been, 17? They were like 13-3. 18, they're like 11-1. Like, I've seen this story too many times. Obviously, it's a much different team. But again, people might shoot me if they heard me say this. I don't think that Marcus Stroman is going to keep up the pace that he's been on so far. I've been someone who's always been a little critical of his pitching arsenal, and I love it. He's been pitching great recently, and I'll be there on Friday when he's pitching again. But I'm not too sure if he's going to keep up. Obviously, he's not going to have a 0.9 ERA all year, but I don't know if he's going to be that top guy. The offense is just really something that's making me so nervous. Obviously, Michael Conforto and Francisco Lindor are not going to combine to hit 150 all year.
Well, you want to throw in one more name in that, Jeff McNeil, who's like
Jeff McNeil can't hit a beach ball into the ocean.
You mentioned those 3. I'm just going to rattle off their batting average early in the season. Conforto's 200, Lindor is 189, and McNeil's 176. The one that surprised me the most is McNeil because he's such a contact hitter.
Yeah, and he's had his moments. I think it was the second game of the year in Philly, he went 0 for 4, and they were like all line outs and diving plays. Like, he's been really unlucky. And I feel like he's going to be fine. But and so are the other 3. So are the other 2. So all 3 are going to be fine overall. Like, and they're obviously going to get better over time because those are 3 all-stars. But the one thing that does scare me is the runners in scoring position. That happened last year. Mets had the number 1 total offense in baseball in OPS and batting average, and they were like 17 runs and 12th in the NL in runs in scoring position. And that's something that makes me so nervous. A little bit that might be on the managerial side. And then another part of it is just the fact that, these guys are just not producing in clutch moments. I don't really know what it is, but I'm nervous and continue to be skeptical just because I do love this team so much and I want them to be good. And I'm just nervous that the rotation without Carrasco and even Noah Syndergaard is not going to hold up as well as the bullpen as well.
Tyler, I want to hear your thoughts on the Mets.
Lindor's got. I mean, it's going to come down to the same thing as the Yankees. The offense has to get better. If it's going to come at all, it's going to come from the top, and that's going to be Lindor. You pay the guy however much, $300 million. He's going to have to produce. I mean, and like you said, he's not going to keep up batting 150 the entire year. So it's just, things are going to change. It's such a long season. You play baseball for 6 months basically straight. You have maybe 5 days off a month. So it's really going to just come down to time. These guys gelling more. Stroman, like you said, he'll probably regress a little bit, but the way he's playing right now is just juicing up Mets fans. I mean, that backwards throw is just unreal.
Lucky.
He did have.
Why didn't he just set his feet and throw the ball?
He could have just set his feet and throw the ball, but we don't know how his body was oriented, falling backwards.
No, that's what I'm saying. I thought he did that because he was gonna trip over himself and fall down. But then watching the highlight, he just could have just took 1 second throwing it. Anyway, I regress from that. But
that play was good. But like I said, it's gonna come from the offense. DeGrom, he's never gonna falter. I mean, he said he wanted to be one of the. What's the inner circle Hall of Famer? Inner circle Hall of Famer. I really don't know what that means, and I'm letting you guys kind of dominate the Mets talk right now, but I'm not really sure what that means. But whatever it is, he'll probably do it because he's been so good. Post what did they do when he was 26? So he's gonna keep going, and he doesn't look like he's gonna stop. Like I said before, he's in the upper echelon of pitchers, and it's basically his own tier where he's at right now. So as long as he's still acing for the Mets, it's really just gonna come down to the offense.
Yeah, and the running and scoring position is a concern, obviously, but I still even though Lindor is hitting poorly, he has 8 walks, on base percentage of .340. You still want that a little bit more up, but it's not as bad. You got Nimmo leading off, who is
MVP.
We're through the first week and a half of the Mets season, he's been the best player in the team outside of Stroman and DeGrom. Yeah. I mean, he's hitting .447 with an on base percentage of .540. Nimmo is just a great leadoff hitter, and it's always been the question of his defense. He's getting better at defense. Still not the best, but it's getting better. Yeah, I've always
been fine with him playing center field. He's had his moments where he's been really, really freaking bad, but I think he's fine out there.
Yeah, so I'm in the belief that the Mets are going to end up winning this division because you said Carrasco comes back, Syndergaard comes back, that rotation's going to be just – I can't imagine, even if you get – half of just an average starting pitcher in Syndergaard, and Carrasco comes back to his form of last year, DeGrom, Stroman, Carrasco, Taijuan Walker, Syndergaard rotation is the best in baseball.
Yeah, I agree. And if I'm going to this weekend series, so if they take 2 out of 3 against Nationals, maybe I'll come back next week and they'll win the World Series.
So we're gonna move into our final New York sports team we got to talk about, and another team. This is the first team we're talking about that Tyler and I aren't a fan of, but this is why Tom's here.
Yes.
Knicks, 6 in a row in the W column, 6 in the East. I mean, Tom was saying before the show how good this team was just because of yesterday's win on ESPN against a Pelicans team, which doesn't make sense how bad they are. Yeah. Tom, what's the excitement level with the Knicks?
Oh, I mean, listen, I was texting one of my best friends from home, and the last time we won 6 games in a row was when I was in 7th grade. That's not even playoffs. Not when last time we won 6 games in a row. Last time we went on a winning streak, I was in 7th grade. So obviously this is extremely exciting. By Thursday we could be the 4 seed, but after we beat Charlotte and Atlanta, which is going to happen. So the fact that this team, actually before the year, I was talking with my friends. We always talk about the Knicks, and I was the one that was really high on the Knicks. I was the one that was really high on them. I predicted them at 33 wins. They could do that by the end of next week at this point, which is just absolutely absurd. I stand by every negative and rude thing I ever said to Julius Randle last year. He was the worst player in the NBA last year. I stand by that. But his progression from last year to this year is otherworldly. He's been fantastic. Reggie Bullock, I mean, thank you for that 3 the other day. He's the most clutch player in the NBA now. Coach Thibodeau is coach of the century.
Basically the Messiah.
I can go on and on. I made it quickly. is rookie of the year, rookie of the
Inefficient scorer.
century. No, he's not. But
Oh, so
Would be-
inefficient. Oh my God.
He's so inefficient.
Oh my God.
I've never
Never
seen him
been
miss a
that,
three.
though.
I've never seen him miss a three.
Oh,
honestly.
God.
I've never seen him miss a floater. Actually, until the fourth quarter against the Pelicans. But point being, the NBA, it's all about offense now, right, fellas? You guys, Celtics, and all you guys score points. Those win you basketball games. The number one defense in the NBA wins you championships. And who has the number one defense in the NBA? The New York Knicks. And it's not even
Listen,
close. I'm
Tom,
just saying it.
Tom,
I'm saying it right
to
now.
rebuttal that, though,
Just saying.
you got the Heat misunderstood with this one. The Heat don't know how to score. The only reason why they win games is they're actually top 5 defensively.
Not top one.
Not top 1. But they do lead the NBA in holding NBA opponents under 100 points.
Yeah, I think we had like 80.
Yeah, but the Heat and Knicks played 3 times. I think the combined average score was 200 points, maybe lower.
Yeah.
Both, I remember 2 of the 3 games, both teams didn't make it to 100, and I think the other game, both of them did. This is the Knicks. Can't beat Miami.
My point is,
No one can when it comes to the playoffs, though, so it's okay. Tyler knows about
Listen, I know that. But the Knicks, as my most, the Knicks are in my top 5 most hated professional sports teams.
why? They're a joke every year. How can you hate the Knicks?
Just past personal stuff. It's all good. I did not. I was not a Carmelo Anthony guy. In retrospect, I'm a Carmelo Anthony guy. At the time, I was not. They were not good, and they also were up 3-0 in the Celtics. We almost came back, and no big deal. We were down 26 in Game 6. It was awesome. We gave Avery Bradley steal. Oh, it was so sick. But the Knicks, I will admit, this is a great stat. Knicks are on at least a 5-game winning streak. At the same time, the Yankees are on a 5-game losing streak for the first time ever.
That's a good stat.
That is a good stat. So the Knicks this season, I'll give them a pass because they're zero threat to anybody.
I hope we get Boston in the first round.
There is zero.
I
chance.
hope we get Boston in the first round.
I promise the Knicks don't win 2 games in the first
I
round.
hope we get Boston.
When the lights really come on and teams actually start playing defense, and this is a small tangent because the NBA is basically unwatchable right now with 90% of the teams. That's why I'm giving the Knicks a pass this season because they actually try, they actually have heart, and they actually play defense. So the Knicks have a pass for me this year. Any other year where they'd be offensively dominated, especially in this league, they'd be by far my most hated franchise. But this season, they actually give a damn, and it's working good for them. I mean, their best player is Julius Randle, who had 0 offensive bag up until maybe a month ago, and now he's just dribbling in between his legs and shooting mid-range jumpers. Like, where did that come from? He's dropping 35 points. I guess anybody can drop 35 points in this league anymore. Like you said, with Reggie Bullock, I mean, Knicks fans are praising this guy like he's Shane Battier.
Ray Allen, actually.
I mean, that's even more egregious. The Knicks are fun. They are different. They are straying from the status quo of today's NBA, and that just comes down to the hiring of Tom Thibodeau, probably the greatest hiring in New York sports in the past 25, I'd say 25 years.
In all of New York sports?
Yeah.
Who? I mean, there's
Since Pat Riley.
Probably. I was
Sure.
gonna say, that's the only name that came to mind. Was probably since Pat Riley. The Yankees and Mets, they both haven't really made a splash hiring a manager. The Giants and the Jets have been laughing stocks of the NFL for the past 25 years. I mean, outside of the Giants' 2 Super Bowl runs.
If you count the Bills in this, then
McDermott.
McDermott.
That's an interesting wrinkle.
See, that's what when you consider New York sports, obviously Buffalo's in New York, but when you say
New York sports is not Buffalo.
No,
I'm sorry.
when you talk New York sports,
you're talking to the wrong guys.
you're talking about the city.
When you want to include Buffalo,
That's not New York sports.
Yeah, when you talk about New York sports, it's all the teams located in the city. That's how I look at it.
And the 2 teams in northern New Jersey, obviously, because everybody wants to point that out.
That's sad for Buffalo that we consider the New Jersey teams New York sports.
But the way, listen, the Bills are making us eat our words these past few years, and they will. They're going to be better than the Jets and the Giants for the next however decade. So that the Buffalo fans can take that and run with it. But New York sports, Tom Thibodeau is probably their best hiring. It's a shortened season. It's not even the greatest New York sports hire in the past 25 years. That's embarrassing for all these teams, but you know what? It's testament to the Knicks and they're great this season. And as much as I want to trash on Julius Randle, like he gets buckets.
You know what this sounds like? It sounds like someone was jealous.
that was
jealous because my team has no heart and they don't want to play with each other. It's not fun.
Tom, I gotta tell you, that might have been one of the best, longest tangents he's ever been on in this show. We just got to bring Tom in here and talk about the Knicks, and that gets him going.
He's jealous.
I honestly listen. If you watched the Knicks Celtics game a few weeks ago, now while we did come out with the victory, the Knicks were rooting for themselves. They were.
I've never seen a bench player on the Knicks sit on the actual bench.
They were.
Listen,
I've
never
trying
heard,
their best to get 10 men on the court in that game. It was
I
awesome.
have never heard of a team want a lifetime contract for someone who does not play.
And he
But
deserves
here we
it.
go with Theo
He
Pinson.
deserves it. He deserves
I
it.
am Tyler. I don't know if you have seen this. I have seen it on Twitter about 2 or 3 times about people like other players on the team sign Theo Pinson lifetime just for the bench.
Yeah.
Like I cannot
Well,
believe
you know-
it's a thing.
Reggie Bullock tweeted that last night.
Do you know what team Theo Pinson was on? The 2019 Nets.
He was on the
Dancing
famous
Nets. So
famous
maybe
bench team.
Theo
Yeah.
Pinson is literally a key to everybody's bench.
Yeah,
now.
we
He's
have
the-
an-
he's
we-
the-
A max contract open this offseason. I'd love for them to explore on Theo Pinson.
Oh no! You're just gonna pay Lonzo Ball $30 million. That's shout out to you too, Nick.
I'll be fine with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really have no.
That's a lot of money,
Not
but
30 million, but I want Lonzo Ball.
Don't be shocked if you do. Then people are
It's
gonna
almost
start
as bad as bringing Kemba Walker.
that things happen. You know,
Doesn't
the extracurricular factors and harm his production in Boston. He's back now, being a facilitator. If you really watch
Back
the
after
Celtics.
one game against Golden State.
listen, my thing with the Celtics,
One game
they-
against
I don't-
Golden State.
I don't think
Watch
this-
that game. That game was awesome basketball.
I don't
Great
think the
basketball.
Celtics can play or win with the trio they have. I think here's my thing. I mean, we're going to get into Celtics more later, but I guess this comes now. When all 3 play, I feel like, yeah, you'll get the occasional all 3 have a good game. When all 3 play, one of them has a bad game. And when 2 of them just play, they both have a good game. It might be more beneficial. Obviously, it's more likely that Kemba's going to be one on the chopping block. But I think it's more beneficial for the Celtics to have 2 out of the 3 play instead of all 3.
If we just had some depth, then yeah, I agree with you. But we have 0 depth, and the bench has been playing better lately. I don't know why Semi Ojeleye still plays basketball, but that's cool. We just need Kemba just to be out there, just to be out there for some semblance of scoring. And he played good against Steph and the Warriors, but we'll get into the Celtics in a little bit. They're hottest team in basketball right now, so we'll
Both on a 6-game win streak.
Oh yeah,
Do you know what's going on in New York right now?
we're 9 of our last 10.
Let me tell you. My dad is an avid Knicks fan. My dad is to the Knicks what I am to the Mets, right? And he sent me a text after we lost, whatever the last game we lost was. It felt so long ago,
Oh.
And he texted me. He said, "We're gonna go 0-9 our next 9 because we had such a hard schedule. The Pelicans twice, the Mavericks, the Lakers.
Who is saying it's a
I
tough
know.
schedule? Who's saying
Yeah, it's
a
not.
tough
That's,
schedule?
you
We're
do.
6-0.
All right.
And I am just begging.
The Lakers, who if you pull a guy on the street, the only people you could recognize on the Lakers is LeBron and Anthony Davis, and they're both not playing. So the Lakers are embarrassing. You should not be
Knicks have
chalking that
won
up.
6 straight, and I guarantee.
Wow.
Nick, I can't tell you. I'm praying
Wow, the best
that
team.
we get Boston in the playoffs.
The
I
best
am
team they
praying.
beat.
All right, so on that note,
I
Raptors.
am praying.
we got to have the break because this has been a 30-minute segment, which is a little bit more than anticipated. But and Tom's got to do something. So I just want, first of all, thank you for coming on for this segment. And second, before you go, where do you think the Knicks? They're going to make the playoffs, or at least the play-in games. That's guaranteed. At least the play-in games. Where do you think? What seed do you think you end up with as the Knicks? And do you think they can win their first playoff matchup, or is it a nice one-and-done season?
The only, and you guys are gonna make fun of me for saying this, but I don't know what seed they'll end up getting because it's so close. I'd love to be a 4, but who knows? You guys not gonna believe me, but the only team I am nervous about is Milwaukee. Give me the Nets. Give me the Nets. We played within 4 points of them all.
I have a question for you. Well, on that note, though, question:
They were
who
healthy.
played for
I was gonna-
all 3?
All 3 were never healthy.
There's no way.
No. We played at least 2 each time.
The second time, didn't Durant get hurt the second time?
Tom's not positive about what he just said. That.
I'm not positive on that one. Well, the first game they won.
No, but I mean, in the first round,
I don't care.
you guys are
Who do you
gonna.
want- Who do you want the
How
first
do we
round?
know that Kyrie's going to show up that day? He might not be feeling too well,
So that's true.
Kyrie shows up for the playoffs.
So let's say
James Harden might have another hamstring.
you guys are the 6th seed right now.
Yeah.
So that would be
we'll
matched
the
up.
4 after tomorrow night.
That would be matched up against Milwaukee. Matchup against Milwaukee right now. Say they get in the 5 spot. Who do you want to play?
Boston. No, actually, no. Legitimately, I'd want to play them.
I actually think I would pick the Knicks to win that series. I'm not even kidding.
Oh my god.
Oh,
You guys
against the Hawks.
Yeah, no,
I would pick the Knicks.
And Nick,
Oh my
don't
God,
even,
that's so
and,
sad.
As much as I hate that, because
getting
I'm
dizzy over here.
not a big Knicks guy. Like I don't root for them, but I think
I
I'm
think-
so low on the Hawks. They don't play winning basketball. When it comes to the playoffs, they don't play winning basketball.
Nate McMillan's a coach.
And yeah, Nate McMillan.
Yeah,
I would want the
I don't
Hawks.
think Nate McMillan's ever made it out of the first round.
No, yeah, I would want the Hawks first. I'd want the Hornets second. I think I
Well-
want Boston.
well, the
I would
Hornets-
want Boston second.
The Hornets, I don't think that at best are going to be in the play-in game because they've got so many injuries. It's brutal. Like I don't know
Those
if
announcers will carry the Hornets.
I
That's the only
don't.
reason that they're even relevant.
I don't know if LaMelo's
Brady
in the.
for sure.
I don't know if LaMelo's going to be back for the playoffs. Like they said, maybe it's a chance, but Gordon Hayward's out. I think until the playoffs. Like they got the short end of the stick when it comes to injuries this season.
That's a fun team, though. I really wish they didn't get.
Oh, they are fun.
That's so fun.
They are fun.
Nick, let me ask you a question before we go to break. As a fan of neither the Knicks or Celtics,
Oh boy.
if there were a 7-game series between the New York Knickerbockers and the Boston Celtics, who would you pick? And say it wisely, because I may come over and smack you.
Well, this is an honest show. We give our real opinions. We don't sugar. We don't like make
Of
things
course,
up
of
around
course,
here.
of course.
This is a legit. Like I'm not trying to please anyone
I
here.
know, but just remember.
I'm getting threatened here.
I'm just kidding.
I think I would legitimately pick Celtics in 6.
Okay, I hope you're. I'm glad you picked that. I'm glad you picked yourself.
Listen, I don't know because I've said it on the show. I live with a Celtics fan. I live with a Knicks fan. I hope this matchup comes to fruition. It would be the most electric playoff series of all time. I mean, I lived with them when the Heat and Celtics played, and that was fun between me and the Celtics fan. But that friend that I have, the Celtics fan, I met when I got here. The Knicks fan, they're high school friends, like back all the way. So it would be even deeper. Yeah, exactly. So I hope it happens. Yeah, I'd get to see you guys argue. I'd get to see them argue. It'd be a great time for me.
Man, I get to see a sweep. It'd be awesome.
You guys could play the 4-5,
I
and
didn't think we'd beat you that quick. I thought I was gonna get you.
we see them in the 4-5, and then we see Miami take out Milwaukee early against.
There we go.
That's a 6-3 game.
Nice. Hey, I see Bam Adebayo's Kevin Garnett now. That's awesome. What the heck is going on?
Do you see the jump shot? They look exactly the same.
It's 12 feet away.
No. Do you see the form though?
Yeah,
It's
the form's similar.
exactly the same.
Similar.
Plays defense like them.
Knicks are winning.
All right, so we do have to go to break.
Yeah,
But we did want to pose this question. We're gonna go quick around the three of us. We said Knicks, Yankees, Mets. Which of the 3 New York teams are gonna go the farthest? Taking the Nets out of consideration because they're far and away the best team. Knicks, Mets, Yankees. Nick, why don't you start off? Which one's going the farthest?
I think the best in their respective sport. Yankees stink, like I said earlier. The Knicks, yeah, they're a cool story. The Mets, they're built to last. I think they're going to be the best team out of those 3.
Dom? It's gonna be a tie between the Knicks and the Mets because they're both going to the championship.
Oh, okay. So we could just
No,
totally.
but legitimately though, it's obviously not the Knicks. I'm really struggling to pick between the Mets and the Yankees. I would probably have to lean to the Yankees though. I think for this year, right?
Yeah, this year, who's
this
the best
year,
team?
I would probably have to lean Yankees, sadly.
Well, I'd probably go Yankees as well. To much nobody's surprise.
first segment, we had our station manager Tom on talking everything New York sports. Might as well call us SNY, but it's time.
Network, sorry.
No. When we're gonna transition into some NFL talk, and then we'll talk about baseball and NBA and just brief college basketball in the second half of the show. But there was some NFL news that I wanted to get to, and we're gonna play a little bit of not like a game, but a little interesting thing from ESPN at the end of our NFL talk. But let's start with the biggest news. Alex Smith retired today. Couldn't really find work, but he was pretty decent this past season. I wouldn't say decent, but serviceable for Washington as they made the playoffs. What an unbelievable comeback, Tyler. It was just truly awesome to see him come back from that and get on the field and play.
Absolutely. And, just a little teaser for our next segment. He actually he was thinking about signing with the Jaguars before he officially announced his retirement. So there was a little bit of interest out there, but I'm sure the money wasn't big enough for him to really just have another full offseason of training, another full season of potentially playing on the, barring a potential injury to their new quarterback who they'll get in the upcoming draft. But, it probably just didn't seem worth it for Alex Smith, and rightfully so. He's got a great family. He's got a lot of money. He's the face of the comeback player of the year, and like you said, he had a great comeback. I would be the first to say that they should name the comeback player of the year award after Alex Smith. I mean, where has there ever been? Hey, yeah, guys come back from torn ACLs, like running back. Adrian Peterson came back from a torn ACL. Peyton Manning came back from a big neck injury, but Alex Smith almost passed away. It was one of the most serious NFL injuries. I mean, shades of Joe Theismann, but it ended up being worse once he got into the operating room. Like there was so many variables to his situation that made it just exponentially worse than what it was originally thought. And he came back and played not like elite football, but he played football on a leg that was like, there was probably a 90% chance that thing was getting amputated. They found a way to keep it on and uninfected, and he was back on the football field, something nobody thought he'd be able to do in the span of a year and a half. So it's just total hats off to Alex Smith. Great career. I hate to label him like this, but he's probably the greatest game manager I've ever seen, Alex Smith. So you know what? He's been successful. He's made a ton of money. He's made a lot of receivers money. He made Travis Kelce into what he is today. So he's had a great career, and it's over now. But you got to respect what happened in that career and not dwell on the fact that he's not playing anymore.
I actually like that idea that you just brought up about naming the Comeback Player of the Year award after Alex Smith. That seems pretty fitting. And a lot of people remember Alex Smith for that, and rightfully so. It's like such a big story, but people forget how good he was actually on Kansas City, on San Francisco.
People definitely forget about San Francisco.
He was good. Like, he won playoff games for them. Like, it was against the Packers, is it?
Yeah.
Or my memory serves me, the Vernon Davis catch.
Mm-hmm.
Or was the Saints? Oh, I'm really torn. It's one of those two teams either way. But he was winning.
Those teams always played them every year.
He won games for the San Francisco in the playoffs with Frank Gore, Vernon Davis, like I said. That team, Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis. Those teams, like, he was the quarterback on that team winning games, and obviously went to Kansas City, and he had 2 successful years, and then they just happened to draft Patrick Mahomes. Unlucky for him. But they found a generational talent, and they went with it. But Alex Smith was a really good quarterback. Sad to see him go because he's such a great guy. I mean, I don't know him personally, but just what it seems like what everyone else says. Such a good person. Went through such adversity, and just hats off to a great career for him.
Yeah, he definitely one of the more underrated quarterbacks of this generation. I mean, you talk about guys who don't have the biggest arm, but he's, like you said, been able to win so many games, win playoff games at that. He's just been, a guy you can always throw behind center and be confident that he can somehow be in there in the closing minutes of the game, or be leading in the closing minutes of the game. And he did that for how many years did he play? Wow, I mean, 16-year career, and that's incredible.
He was the number 1 pick.
Yeah, he was the number 1 pick.
I've the number 1 pick in Aaron Rodgers' draft class, correct?
So, yeah, that is correct. Now, Aaron Rodgers is the only quarterback from the 2005 draft still in the league today. And people forget, I mean, Alex Smith doesn't have a Hall of Fame career by any stretch, but Three-time Pro Bowler. He led the NFL in passer rating in 2017, which is, yeah, you could talk about Andy Reid, but the guy still's got to make throws. So, Alex Smith, obviously, and then the comeback player of the year. He's had his fair share of accolades. So great touchdown interception ratio, basically 2-to-1, and basically a 90 passer rating. Guy, and he played so many games too. Like he was never before the Washington injury. He was really never hurt. Like he was always playing, and he was always playing at a high level. And it's over now, but I mean, I enjoyed watching him play all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I did enjoy him watching him is when
he played Seattle or something.
And when he played New England on opening day it was actually 2017, where they just coming off that Super Bowl win, and they played the Chiefs in the opening game, and he hung like 48 points on New England. But either way, great career to Alex Smith. Sad to see him go, but
was that the Kareem Hunt game?
Yes, it was
okay.
his rookie game where he had like 200 total yards and like 3 touchdowns. But Alex Smith still like slung the ball around.
Absolutely.
Sad to see him go, but let's transition to a quarterback that we'll see officially hit the NFL in 10 days, which I couldn't be more excited for. The NFL draft, not the quarterback. Well, I mean, it's going to be fun to see him in the NFL, but I'm not.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I'm not emotionally attached to him. I'm going to say I'm excited for the NFL draft. Trevor Lawrence, though, a little interesting hot water situation. He admitted to, I think on a podcast, that he doesn't have as much as a chip on his shoulder as the rest of, or some other NFL athletes or NFL like draftees or quarterbacks, because he's been the number one player his whole life.
How does that not have a chip on your shoulder? Like
I don't know, but he admitted to it. Like he said that he doesn't have that much of a big of a chip, if any, on his shoulder coming into the league. And then people were questioning. It was like, well, this is interesting. He admitted he doesn't have that chip on his shoulder. Like, is he not going to be like driven and like passionate about getting better and leading his team to wins? He had to come quickly out and tweet that that means nothing. He loves football more than anyone. So stuff like that. But it was a weird situation that happened there. Tyler, what was your reaction to it?
I really didn't know what to think, because you can kind of think about it in two different ways. Like, yeah, he could be either being super cocky, like, yeah, I've been the number one player my whole life, or number two, he's just not thinking about being the number one player, and he's being more humble than anything. I think the way that he said, I didn't hear the podcast, but I think the way that he said it was more in the cocky area. So, not the greatest look to come into the NFL with, but he's still going to be a really good player. The good part about Trevor Lawrence is that his floor is probably Ryan Tannehill, and that's a really, really good floor, especially the way he's playing right now. But the ceiling is obviously Andrew Luck and beyond. This guy can dominate the game in a lot of ways. He's one of the most accurate throws of the football that I've ever seen. At least, not already seasoned in the NFL. I'm not talking about Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson here, but coming into the NFL, he's got one of the best arms I've ever seen. He's a true leader. It's crazy. He walked away from college, no Heisman's, just one ring in his freshman year. And we're still anointing him as the next messiah of the quarterback position in football. So, yeah, it's weird. Like, do you think he has a chip on his shoulder? Because
I don't think he has a chip on his shoulder. It's weird in my opinion, for him to admit he doesn't.
Yeah, I guess that's like something that kind of goes without saying. So that makes total sense. Yeah, weird.
I don't think it will affect his career, though.
Did somebody provoke him? No. It won't affect his career.
People were they're just like the people were wondering, like, he said that he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. Does this mean like he won't work to get better, and like he feels like he's like, I don't know.
I don't really think those two things correlate. I mean, they could. They definitely.
Well, like
could.
you look at to bring up Tom Brady, like he was drafted in the 6th round, 199th overall, and he came in with a monster chip on his shoulder. I'm going to prove everyone wrong. Like, and then he worked his tail off to be like what he is now. And then like people are like, oh, this guy's been the best his whole life. He's the number one pick. He just admitted he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. Like, will he work as hard as other quarterbacks? Yeah. Which means his progression won't be as much as other people thought because he's not working as hard. That's like what the people are like questioning, is like, whoa, this is kind of weird he said that. Like, I just want to like take your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll affect his career. I think it could affect his rookie season, though. How hard is Trevor Lawrence going to work this offseason to take officially when he holds that jersey up next to Roger Goodell, he is the face of the franchise in Jacksonville for the next however many years that he's in town. And Urban Meyer, first time NFL coach, that's a question mark.
That's the biggest thing to me. Like, I actually think Trevor Lawrence is going to be good, like in a vacuum. But Urban Meyer, I hated that hire.
It's different. It's very weird. It's just I didn't expect it, but it just I guess he was looking for. I knew Urban Meyer was not done coaching. I just did not think he would be in the NFL.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because, to me, I think the most important thing for young quarterbacks is the situation they get put in right away. Like, that can make or break their career. There's times where people leave and then get better. You mentioned Ryan Tannehill. It's a perfect example. He came into Miami and he wasn't very good, was in a bad situation, left, went to Tennessee, and now look at him. He's probably was going to say something really aggressive. Top 50. He's a top half quarterback in the league.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say top 10.
He's close.
He's around that 12 to 9 range,
absolutely.
But I don't know. I don't have my pen and paper ready to name my top 10 quarterbacks, so I'm not going to say it. But that's one of those examples. So people think, I don't know. I think Urban Meyer's going to bring him, hold him back a little bit.
Urban Meyer's never been a quarterback developer. I mean, yeah, the Ohio State quarterbacks are good, but they're usually gifted athletes. They're usually really big arm quarterbacks. They usually already come with a trait that's designed for them to succeed in the Ohio State offense. Urban Meyer's not a quarterback guy.
It's just a wild move to do.
So what happened with Saban? It was not good.
I don't know. I'm really not buying. Jacksonville's a young team, and they're going to get better. They have 2 first-round picks this year. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is already on the team. Might as well put that to the bank. They have the 25th pick in the first round too. They have young talent: Laviska Shenault, Josh Allen, the defensive end, Josh Allen, DJ Chark. They've got talent. Their defense is still bad. That needs a lot of work, but they've got the offensive talent. I just am so low on Urban Meyer's ability to coach. I think he'll be a bottom 3 coach in the NFL.
Within 2 years, or even just see it next season.
I can see it next year, him being one of the worst coaches. The NFL and college is different. You can get away with some things. You can get away with some mistakes because your team, at least or in Urban Meyer's case, is always the best no matter what. He's dealing with a worse team. He's gonna have to be perfectly game planned every time. I don't buy he's gonna do that. I mean, he's gonna have the quarterback of the future, but that's about it. I don't know. Call me
some young studs. I don't think they're super talented though.
Call me a hater. Call me someone really low on Urban Meyer. I don't know. I don't care. I just don't think it's going to go well in Jacksonville with him. I would have preferred quite literally anybody else. Why couldn't you have hired Eric Bieniemy?
There you go.
He's 10 times. I mean, it's a cliche to say that, but he deserves it. And he's the best. He's 10 times the NFL coach than Urban Meyer is, and probably will ever be. Maybe he proves me wrong, but I doubt it. So
he deals with a guy who everybody wants Trevor Lawrence to be and has on the daily. So that would have been an absolutely perfect hire in Jacksonville. Urban Meyer, like you said, he's dealt with the top 5 roster in his prospective sport, college football, every year that he's been a coach. He comes in the league with the literal worst roster in the NFL. I mean, you could call the Jets, but they did win 2 games this year. Jacksonville didn't do that. Literally, this is the worst roster in the NFL. We're going to have to see what Urban Meyer is going to do. I can't see anything, and we're going to get to actually win totals in just a little bit. But I don't know if we don't. You didn't put the Jaguars on here, but I can't see more than 5.
So what's interesting is that I'm struggling with my memory now, but their win total given by NFL Nation was 5.
Oh, it was 5?
I cannot remember if they said it over or under.
Slam the under on that.
I would say I think 60% of my brain believes they said under.
Yeah, because the Jaguars didn't make any splashes in free agency this summer.
No, they didn't do anything special. So
interesting. We're gonna have to see what they do in the draft. I mean, it's a long draft. They have a lot of picks. They have good picks. They have a good signal caller, really good signal caller coming in. I just hope he's able to adapt. I hope Urban Meyer doesn't try to make it too much like college. he's really going to learn the ins and outs of the NFL before they really get rolling in Jacksonville.
That's my thing. If this was Urban Meyer's second year and he was drafting Trevor Lawrence, okay, like you can. But with both of them going through the same like first year experience at the same time, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, because I mean, who's Trevor Lawrence going to? Who's never been in that situation either.
Exactly. That's
we will see if we had to. I think we both have to say that the Jaguars are going to hit their win total. We both go under.
I would say that.
But that leads us into our next topic. I mean, good luck to Trevor Lawrence. Good luck to Urban Meyer. We hope you do well, but we're not envisioning it in year one. But we will move into NFL Nation did predict team total over under win totals this morning or yesterday. The early reaction from a couple interesting ones. They chose Steelers with 9 wins. They chose under. Colts 10 wins. They said that's fine. Broncos 7.5. They said over. That's interesting to me. I want to get to that in a little bit. Chargers they said over 9. Cowboys they said under 9.5. I like that. Saints they said over 9.5. Patriots they said over 9. And Seahawks.
Yeah, but the other I put 8 of them here. And then the first 6 were the ones that like caught my eye the most.
Please don't catch my eye.
They said under Steelers 9, kind of a wild move for a team that went 12-4 last year or 11-5. I don't know which one.
Comes down to Ben. All comes down to Ben.
Like their defense is still elite. Their wide receivers, their offensive weapons around Ben didn't get worse. I mean, they lost James Conner, but who cares? Like that doesn't mean anything to me.
Do you know where they're picking in the first round?
24th.
Have
24th.
they been spending draft capital at all on trades at all or anything?
Well, they just traded a first-round pick, but it was last year for Minka.
Okay, it was last year's pick.
So they're good. They're picking 24th. I already have them
Watch.
penciled in for a running back.
I'm not even watch them trade to the top 10.
For what?
Get a quarterback.
You think? I don't think they have enough draft capital.
That's the thing. If they don't have enough draft capital, then they can't.
I mean, I guess they have the standard draft capital, but
they have the established defense already. They have the wide receiver threats. They have the offensive line. Like they need a quarterback. And the only thing that is holding them back is Ben Roethlisberger.
I was the super critical one of Ben Roethlisberger last year in the Steelers. Like they were 5-0, and I said they still like aren't that good. I mean, they. Okay, so I was right 12-4. And then I got smoked by the Browns in the first round of the playoffs, which was wildly crazy. But you got to remember, there's 17 games this year. And you're telling me a 12-4 team, yes, Big Ben, but do you think he's going to be worse than last year? I don't really I don't buy into him getting worse. So a team that 12-4 last year, for them to predict 8-9 or worse is absurd.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
me.
they're basically saying that they go
like 4 games worse than what they did last year.
And under 500.
That's
because you can't go 500 in the NFL anymore. So it's gonna be interesting this season for a lot of teams.
I'm gonna be thrown off. I'm not gonna be prepared for it. I'm gonna say all year, like for a team that can go 11-6, that's already got my mind in a blender right now. Like for a team to be 9-8 or like 2-15, like I'm already like struggling here.
I'd rather have 18 games. Just give me an even number, man.
That exactly. I like the even number. But what this does eliminate is it most likely eliminates the I guess it could still happen. I don't know why. I don't know where I was going with that. That was really bad. Either way, so I can't believe they put Steelers 9 under though. That was unbelievable to me.
Yeah. Steelers under 9. Yeah, they had to win at least 10 games, right? 10-7. I would say the Steelers go 10-7. So it's close. It's the right win total, but I think they go over.
Yeah, I just can't see them getting 4 games worse from last season.
I would like to have heard their reasoning for why they said under. Colts 10 push. What's your gripe there?
The only thing is it's like aggressive to predict like exactly 10 wins this early before the draft. 10-7 would be the record. I actually would go under. What did they end up? They ended up 10-6 last season, correct?
I believe 10-6. Yes.
And I think Phillip Rivers. I'm not a big Phillip Rivers guy, but I think he last season will have a better season than Carson Wentz this year. So they didn't upgrade the weapons around Carson Wentz. They could do that through the draft, obviously.
Michael Pittman gets better. I think Jonathan Taylor gets better.
Okay, I get Taylor, but a lot of people are saying Michael Pittman's going to progress in this
I
big
don't think he's
thing.
going to be some sort of top tier receiver, but he's going to get better.
I would predict the Colts going 9-8.
I can see. I think 10 is a fine number right now. Carson Wentz, listen, he has not had help, and I'm not defending. The statistical worst quarterback in the league that played a full season last year. So he's been playing brutally the past 2 years, but he has had zero help since his would-be MVP season. The Colts have an offensive line that's going to protect him like no other. So I do see 10 wins being a good number here, and I would actually agree with that.
Okay. Next team, Broncos, 7.5. They said over.
Why?
Yeah, that's crazy to me. It's crazy town. They play in the Chiefs division. And another team on the list that I put right after, they have over 9 Chargers wins. And not to mention, they had 12 wins for the Chiefs on here. I didn't put it on here, but I'm pretty sure they said either push or over on the Chiefs. So they basically projected the Chargers to win 10 games, the Broncos to at least win 8, and the Chiefs to at least win 13. Like, there's so many wins that could go around within a division. I don't think they thought that one through when they were just picking over with the division. And they had the Raiders in there. I think they had them at 8.5 was their total, and I think they said under. I think they projecting like 7 and 10, 8 and 9, something like that. Which
that's a good.
That's right around their range.
Yeah.
But they're basically it's like that's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Broncos are the worst one on all of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Broncos are by far the worst team in that division.
Unless they're just predicting a third-year Josh Allen boost from Drew Lock.
Predicting because it all comes down to for so many teams in the NFL. Listen, they have fine supporting casts. It comes down to quarterback.
The weapons are in Denver are good.
Yeah,
they actually are.
Hamler, Judy, and who else they have?
Cortland Sutton coming back from ACL.
Cortland Sutton's coming back. Yes. Yeah, so the weapons, like you said, are there. Noah Fant.
I love Noah Fant. They don't use him enough.
No, they don't use him enough. He should be the focal point of the offense. But Drew Lock obviously isn't talented enough at this point in his career to really take control of that offense. So that's why I'm very good. That one confused me the most. The over 7.5 for the Broncos. They had, like you said, they have to beat every team in their division one time to do that. It's not going to happen.
Nope. It's a wild call there. But they also have like I said, the Chargers. Let's move on to them. Over 9. Herbert's going to get better. The defense still is terrible. Well, maybe terrible is the wrong word, but their defense still isn't that good. Yeah, Derwin James is going to come back from injury. He'll make a difference. But to project the Chargers at 10-7?
No.
They're going to have a first-year head coach this season.
Who did they sign again? I forget their head
the defensive coordinator from the Rams, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yes.
I'm blanking on the name, but I know it was him.
That's who it was. But, that's weird because does Herbert get that much better in his second year?
They finished 7-9 this season, so I guess that they're projecting a 3-win improvement from Derwin James coming back, Herbert's second year. They did sign Corey Linsley. I just don't think, that division is so tough. I don't know. Maybe I just think better things from the Raiders to, prevent that. I see the Chargers and Broncos splitting. I see the Chargers and Raiders splitting, and I see them probably losing both times to the Chiefs. So I don't know. That's 3. That's 2 and 4 in their division. So I don't know. I just don't see them getting 10 wins. I don't know about you, Tyler.
Yeah, 10 wins is a lot for them. They like you said, they probably have to win at least 3 games, 4 games in that division.
Exactly, and I only see them getting 2. I mean, they could sweep the.
They can absolutely sweep the Broncos, but then that takes their other prediction out of question. So
so I don't know. They needed to, I think, account for that. They just went individually and just set a win number and said over under, but they didn't really account for in interdivision. I don't think.
Absolutely. Which
is fair. I mean, if they were just going in in each team, it's okay. But you just got to think of those things sometimes. Cowboys 9.5. They said under. I would go over.
Why?
Because Dak's going to come back fully healthy.
When?
Why? What do you mean when? He should be ready for the start of the
Is he
season.
really going to be ready for the start of the year? It's less than a year turnaround.
I mean, it's not like he tore his ACL. He just had a terrible compound fracture, right?
Yeah, he broke his leg. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that takes more than a year.
I actually think broken leg is like less serious long term than a torn ACL. At this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think short term it takes longer to come back.
I think Dak will be ready for the start of the season.
I want to see an update on that quickly.
They picked 10th. I pray to God for Cowboys fans they don't trade up to get Kyle Pitts. That would be a disaster because they'd have to send a first-round pick from the next season to trade up to get him. They should just stay at 10, draft a corner. We'll talk about that in our mock draft show next week. Get better on the defensive side. Their offensive weapons, if their defense can just be like ranked 18th in the NFL, ranked 19th in the NFL, they'll be 11-6 in my mind. Their offenses will be top 10. They just need to have a not bottom 5 defense, and I think they get 10 and 11 wins.
If I just read it too. If Dak comes back, they expect him to be. I think they said he's fully healthy right now, and they fully expect him to come back to start the 2021 season. So, yeah, I would go over 9.5 too. They're probably the best team in that division. It's not even close.
I don't know, man. You try to talk to some Giants fans, it gets delusional over there in Giant land.
But like you said before, with Drew Lock, some Josh Allen type of 30-year progression. Daniel Jones, this is it. This is it for them.
I'm so sick of Giants fans telling me that Daniel Jones is still going to be good. Like, I've heard it from 2 or 3 different Giants fans.
He's never going to be like a Super Bowl winning, threatening. Like Daniel Jones for the next 2 years won't be a guy who defenses say, "Oh God, we're playing Daniel Jones."
Right. Like
it's not going to happen.
One of my good friends from my high school is a Giants fan, and we talk football all the time. He gets all hype when they signed Kenny Galladay. Rightfully so. It's a wide receiver 1. And I was like, well, it still doesn't mean that much because you don't have a quarterback to get to him. And he's like, Daniel Jones, I think he's going to break out 3rd year. Just remember, Josh Allen looked terrible in his first 2 years.
Josh Allen did not look as bad as Daniel Jones does. Josh Allen at least had acrobatic plays. Josh Allen at least took chances. Daniel Jones doesn't take chances. Josh Allen at least had the attribute of cannon arm.
Josh Allen turned it around, showing some things in the second half of his second season.
He made the playoffs the second year.
But his first season in first 6 games,
was horrible.
Well, they were bust bad. Like they were looking terribly bad. But he turned it around. I don't think it's gonna happen. So that's why I have the Cowboys. I actually have the Cowboys going through that division pretty easily. They'll be able to put up points. The defense is the big question. Let's move on to the Saints 9.5.
Weird. Why is this the way that it is?
Why did they say over?
I think it's a lock that it's under. I think it's
exactly
one of the entire league.
Because the roster around the team is really good, but like the Broncos, the quarterback play matters. And if they're buying in the Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, getting them 10 wins this season, power to you, man. Power to you, but it's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. The Panthers got a lot better. I think the Panthers are going to be probably the second best team in that division.
It depends on how Darnold does. I don't know. I can't buy into that yet.
I'm high on Darnold. I am. For some stupid reason, I think he's going to play better than a lot of people think. I'm not going to say really well. I'm going to say better than a lot of people think. Why am I blanking on who the 4th team in that division is? Bucks. Falcons. Oh, my God. The Panthers are going to come in second in that division. The Saints, 9.5 wins. There's no guarantee that they get 1 or 2 over the Falcons. You're not getting either one over the Bucks.
Not with no Drew Brees.
Not with no Drew Brees, no. And Drew Brees kept them in a lot of games this year, and he didn't even play good. So
you got to think about this too. Is like the Bucks. They swept the Bucks in the regular season this past season, and then obviously lost from the playoffs. But this was also because like the Bucks weren't like fully together. Like Mike Evans was out with injury. Chris Godwin was. Antonio Brown was getting into the mix. The defense was finally didn't come together until like week 11 of the NFL season, and they've already played their 2 games. They played like week 1 and week 8 this season. So in week 10 was when the Bucks hit their stride. So I don't know. I think the Bucks are going to probably finish with the second best record in football this season.
Bucks are going to easily be.
I think they're going to end up 13-4. I think that's going to be.
That's a great, yeah.
I think that's going to be the best record and the second best in the NFC. I think the Chiefs are probably going to go 14-3. That's my guess on them, and that's why they'd be the number 1 overall seed out of both conferences.
Yeah, that one's weird to me. I don't see how the Saints are just because you say over 9.5 wins. That's a playoff team.
Exactly.
They're not a playoff team.
They're still are they still keeping the 7 playoff? Only one
Yeah.
seed gets a bye. They're keeping that.
Yep.
I didn't know if that was like the MLB where it was like 1 year rule. I didn't know that.
What was the MLB's 1 year rule?
They did the same thing. Like
oh, that's right.
no one got a bye.
Yeah.
Like, and they did the DH and the NL. They got rid of that, and then they're going back to their normal 5-team playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like if you remember, I don't know because I know you don't aren't fully versed in the MLB world, but it's the 1 seed. And then the 2 seed, and then the 3 seed, and then the wild cards. So like the top 3 in each division, and then the 2 wild cards play. The winner of the wild card plays the seed, and then the 2 and 3 seed just got a bye and they play each other.
Mm-hmm.
But they expanded it to where it was what's it called? There was I think.
Well, that's because it's also because there's or is there only 3 divisions per?
There's 3 divisions.
Yeah, so in the NFL and the NBA is a lot. It's easier because there's 4 divisions.
Yeah.
Not that it even matters in the NBA, but that there's no way the Saints win 10 games.
Oh yeah, let's move on to our teams. We'll start with the Patriots. They had them at 9. They said over. I buy that. I think they're going to end up 10-7. That's me personally. They finished 7-9 this season. Obviously, Cam Newton didn't play that good. I'm going to expect him to be better in the second year in the program. He had 0 weapons around him. They signed Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. The offensive line is still going to be top 5 in the NFL. You've got Cam Newton weapons. Second year in the system. Dante Hightower comes back from opting out. We signed Matthew Judon. Secondary is still the same secondary, still top 5 in the league in that portion. You got a couple other pass rushers. The signings they made to me, and expecting a boost from Cam Newton in second year in the offense with better weapons and new weapons around him, that's at least 3 wins to me boosted from this past record. So I buy over 10-7 is my prediction right now before the draft. That could totally change because the Patriots are an interesting team to watch when it comes to trading up. So the Patriots could definitely either make it way better or way worse depending on who they select or trade up to select if they do trade up. So keep an eye on them, but I would predict right now 10-7.
I think 9's a good number. I do. Like I've said with about pretty much every team on this list so far, it all depends on the quarterback position. Your defense can be so good, but I mean, at the end of the day, 2 years ago, you guys had the best division the best defense in football. But while Tom Brady didn't play great, he's still Tom Brady. He's going to keep you around in all those games. Cam Newton is the same way. It all depends on him. Second year in the offense, he's got receivers, but he had receivers in Carolina the past.
He never did though. He had DJ Moore his rookie season, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean,
they never really got him weapons.
To be better. Yeah, you're right. You're right there. For some reason, I thought Robbie Anderson was in Carolina when he was.
No, I'm not saying Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry are going to be the tight end duo, similar to Cam Newton had his best success throwing the Greg Olsen, like you said. They're hoping.
Hunter Henry's a very Greg Olsen type.
They're hoping that the tight end success will help Cam Newton. Though I'm not saying the wide receivers are otherworldly, but they are upgrades. With those two being on the outside and mixing in Jacoby Myers, who had a real nice second half of the season. There's weapons. I don't think the excuse can be in New England anymore that there's no weapons to throw the ball to. Exactly. The defense is Super Bowl winning enough. If you threw that defense on half the teams in the NFL with a good offense, it's a Super Bowl team. The weapons to me are serviceable enough with the offensive line and the running game. Cam Newton's just got to be efficient throwing the football. That's the only thing.
That's what it comes down to. That's what comes down to for a lot of these teams. I think 9's a good number. I would say push right now, but I would be tempted to change my opinion after the draft. Obviously, like you said, a very interesting team to watch next week.
Let's move on to your Seahawks.
Yeah, a team that's not going to depend on how the quarterback plays. I mean, maybe it will because he absolutely crapped the bed in the second half of the season. 10 wins. I actually knew this was the number a couple days ago, and I tend to lean under.
I would agree with you.
I tend to lean under.
They
stink. They're not good, and that division is so good. It's the best division in football every year, and it got better.
Unfortunately,
it got substantially better.
I actually think You might think this is a hot take. I think you guys might be the worst team in the division this year.
Oh no! I was going to lead into saying that.
Because
depends all on what San Fran does in the draft.
I mean, I told you that. Yeah, that is big, interesting. If they take Mac Jones, disaster alert.
Can't wait.
They take Fields or Lance, then they're in business, in my opinion.
I agree.
But we talked about it when Matthew Stafford got traded to the Rams. I'm super high on them. I think they're the second best team in the NFC. I know you were. Oh no, you were.
What?
So you're on that too with them being the second best team in the NFC?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you were or not.
There's no way we win the division next year.
Yeah, so I think the Rams are honestly the second best team in the division or the conference behind the Bucs. I'd put the Packers at 3 right now. And then so I don't know, you're gonna expect a big improvement with JJ Watt coming over and a third year Kyler Murray, and you're gonna, like you said, all depending on who they draft. Jimmy G is still going to be the starter, but if that defense comes back healthy, Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, they still have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, that duo come together. Jimmy Garoppolo stays healthy because the rookie quarterback they draft probably won't start right away.
No, it'll take a couple just games where Jimmy Garoppolo goes like 10 or 15 for 150 yards.
But my thing with them is like I still think the 49ers are going to end up with 10 wins.
Yeah, the 49ers probably do end up with 10 wins, but you lose Robert Saleh, so that defense, I mean, Kyle Shanahan's not a defensive coordinator.
It's true.
He's not. He's an offensive guy, and he's going to be very tempted to use his third overall pick. He really is going to, because I don't think he has a connection with Jimmy G. I mean, yes, he was, I'm sure, somehow in the mix of orchestrating that trade, but that was before Jimmy Garoppolo became a way worse game manager than guy we talked about before, Alex Smith.
Well, people forget Kyle Shanahan's number one guy he wanted through the trade market and free agency was Kirk Cousins back at the time.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know. Do you think Kirk Cousins would have won that Super Bowl instead of Jimmy G?
I don't know. Kirk Cousins probably would have been tasked with throwing the ball downfield more than Jimmy Garoppolo was, so that would be interesting. I don't know what they would do there. It'd be a totally different offense. It wouldn't not. It
I think. Well, Kirk is better than Jimmy G in my mind.
Absolutely.
So, like, would it be enough to beat the Chiefs?
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be enough to beat the Chiefs. I don't even know if they'd be up 10. They'd be a totally different offense. They would.
They were up 20-10 at one point. People forget.
8 minutes left.
It was. Yeah, I was gonna say fourth quarter.
Yeah, ridiculous. I mean, never forget how Patrick Mahomes burst onto the scene in that Super Bowl.
He played awful before that final 8 minutes too. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Still won MVP though, because that's what they do, narrative style. Seahawks 10 wins. Ugh. Do we go under though? Like that 9-8 is bad. Like 9.
It's a little bit better than mediocre because it's not exactly
it's
mediocre.
Not, so I mean, but so the secondary got substantially worse, and it was already horrible. We did bolster the pass rush, but Alden Smith is wanted for battery right now, so that's cool.
Yeah, I saw that right before the show started.
Hey, great. Our biggest signing of the offseason is now wanted. Wide receiver. I mean, we locked up Tyler Lockett, so he's in town for the foreseeable future. DK is only going to get better, I guess. It comes down to, I don't even know what it comes down to, man. It comes down to Pete Carroll getting fired. That's really what it's going to come down to. We'll see what happens in Seattle. I'm not hopeful, but of course I'll be optimistic because it's the NFL and everybody has to be optimistic at this point in the season. So we'll see who they draft. Thank God they don't have a first round pick, so I don't have to worry about us drafting another bust. So second day of the draft, I'll be sitting on my couch ready for us to get a third round steal. And we'll be in business for next year. But
yeah, so this is like the first time for the NFL draft. I mean, I love the NFL draft regardless of the Patriots pick, but they got a top half pick this year for like the first time since like I've been watching football.
Yeah.
This is gonna be, and there's rumors of them possibly looking to trade up to get a quarterback.
They will doubt. They will.
It's gonna be an electric draft day for me.
They will make
that.
calls. They will make calls. Whether they end the call with a decision is a different question, but they will be making calls. There's no way that they can be like uber confident with all the signings they just made. They cannot be uber confident with them going into the season with Cam Newton. They just can't.
I think they're going to draft a quarterback in this draft regardless, and I think they have to because the way they built their roster is similar to how the Bills did. Build everything around them pretty good. Hope your quarterback you drafted takes that leap. Pounce on him being on a rookie contract.
Kyle Trask.
Well, if they draft first-round quarterback, it would be Mac Jones, one of the like Trey Lance, Justin Fields.
Well, they would have to trade up then.
I'm not necessarily sold they would have to trade up to draft Mac Jones. If the 49ers take either Fields or Lance, I think Mac Jones will be there at 15.
That's interesting.
That's my take on it.
Very interesting.
Because my thing is the Eagles don't need a quarterback. They're picking 12th.
You never know what they'll do.
Yeah, it's true. The Eagles don't need a quarterback. They could draft a quarterback. What am I
That's
saying?
what I'm saying. I said you never know what they'll do.
But obviously, let's say the Bengals at 5 don't. I'm convinced I am convincing myself right now that if the Falcons stay at 4 and don't trade, they are taking Kyle Pitts. I've convinced myself of that.
Okay.
So no quarterback for them in my mind. No quarterback for 5, the Bengals. No 6 with the Dolphins. No 7 with the Lions. I'm confident in that. No Panthers at 8. Broncos at 9. I'm saying they stick with Drew Lock. Like, would they rather have Mac Jones over Drew Lock? I'm not buying that.
That's absolutely true.
10 Cowboys, no way. 11 Giants, no way. They still got to run it back with Daniel Jones one more year. 12 Eagles, like I said, never no. 13 Chargers, no. 14 Vikings. Patriots 15. Okay. I really am convinced myself that if Mac Jones doesn't go 3, he's going to be there at 15. You can even argue
that Trey Lance makes it down there.
But here's my thing. If Trey Lance gets to 9, that's where the Broncos have to decide between Trey Lance and Drew Lock. Or someone from, like you mentioned, the Steelers look to trade up in that area.
I could absolutely see the Steelers making this move. I think it's nobody's talking about it. And I think it's a perfect time. Like you said, I don't know the draft capital situation as well as Pittsburgh fans, but it would be criminal if they didn't at least make calls about quarterbacks.
So in my mind, I've convinced myself if the Falcons stay put, they're not going quarterback, and that's why I think either Mac Jones, Trey Lance, or Justin Fields, 2 of them will still be there at picks 8 or 9. That's just my thinking. We'll get into that more in depth next week when we have like full half of the show, maybe even more NFL draft.
Stems from the Seahawks losing more than 9 games. So
that's true. Stay tuned. We're gonna have to break. When we come back, a little bit MLB. One little college basketball talk. Stay tuned on Direct Scope. Nic Rohloff and Tyler Smith on WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. Welcome back to WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. You're listening to The Director's Cut with Nic Rohloff and Tyler Smith. We have about minutes to go. We're going to get into three different aspects of sports here. College basketball is for a second, and then we'll go into this week in this league and the NBA talk. Let's start in college basketball, get this out of the way. Number 1 overall recruit, Chet Holmgren, committed to Gonzaga earlier today. We talked about the possibility of this last week. Now it's official. How does this affect Gonzaga's ability to try to get back to the national championship game and affect the national landscape next season?
Well, I think when we were talking about opening line favorites for next year's national championship, Gonzaga remained at the top, and that's because they assumed that this would be the outcome. Chet Holmgren, obviously going to the same high school, Minnehaha, as Jalen Suggs in Minnesota, now coming to Washington, Spokane, and teaming up with Mark Few and Drew Timme and Andrew Nemhart. It's going to be interesting. He's the presumptive number 1 pick in the draft next year. It's going to be weird to see how he matches up in college basketball because he's going to be playing of probably the 4, and then Timme will play the 5, and then how does he stack up against, imagine this Baylor team, or even these Baylor bigs, say they match up next season, and you got to go against Chanwa Tachua and Flo Thamba. So, these guys are very physical athletes. Chet is a little different. He plays more on the perimeter. He's a ball handler. He's an off-the-dribble scorer. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he matches up, what kind of defense he'll be playing, who he'll be defending, who he'll be matching up with on offense. So he's a different type of player. One of the first, he's one of these guys that is kind of in that next generation of basketball players that we're going to see, the lanky guys. We saw, obviously, with Durant 10 years ago, but he was kind of ahead of his time. Now we're kind of seeing a lot of guys come into basketball with this kind of mold. It's going to be really interesting to see how he defends and how he's defended. So I'm interested to see, but he's a gifted scorer. He knows his way around the rim, and he's obviously, like I said, the number 1 presumptive pick in next year's draft. So it can only mean success for the Bulldogs. Yeah,
look, John Rothstein, we talk about him every time we play or talk about college basketball. But he actually tweeted out today his analysis of Chet Holmgren. He's a Kristaps Porzingis type of player with better rim protection.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's really good.
So
Better Kristaps is a very good player.
Kristaps can fire from 35 feet. He is inefficient at times. And Kristaps, for how tall he is, he doesn't struggle sometimes protecting the rim, which
He's
is
a horrible rebounder, too.
Yeah, which is interesting. But if Chet can be anything like that, Gonzaga is definitely the favorite. With that being said, I don't know about you, Tyler, but I've been a Gonzaga naysayer my whole life. I'm going to stick to it and give me the field. But it does hurt, or it does help the chance. Especially if Timme confirms staying back, him, Holmgren, and Nemhart, it's going to be a problem.
That's probably as good of a big 3 as they're going to find in college basketball.
Well, their big 3 this year, if Timme, Suggs, and Kispert replaced with Timme. Nemhart's not close to Jalen Suggs, but Timme's going to obviously be better, so Timmy's better than his past version. I'm taking freshman Chet over senior Corey Kispert.
I absolutely agree. Corey Kispert actually might go lottery in this year's draft, but I would still take Chet.
Yeah, and then obviously Suggs is way better than Nemhart, but that big 3 is going to be pretty much equivalent to the big 3 on Gonzaga this year. It's all about the surrounding pieces for the Gonzaga Bulldogs, but they definitely are probably, that's great to say those in a row, but they're definitely going to be I think, number 1 overall team heading into next season now, and going to be, like you said last week, they're going to be the favorites. I'd say that maybe even their odds got worse from a betting perspective with Chet committing officially.
Him coming into town, I'm sure -6 or +600 is gone down just a bit, but yeah, they're gonna be the team to beat next year once again. But like happened this year, they didn't see any real competition until the Final Four, and that's when they got smacked in the mouth by UCLA. But then they got absolutely punched in the mouth by Baylor, and they saw their real first physical competition of the year, and they got ousted. So it's going to have to be a season of like realization from our few, maybe Scott. They had a lot of quad one wins to start the season in non-conference. So I guess you schedule more of those. Joe Rothstein, you said what his analysis was, but he also called him appointment television. So he's going to be a guy like who everybody wants to watch. He's going to be ESPN's shining star next year. He's going to be Bleacher Report's shining star next year. Everybody's going to be watching Chet and Gonzaga. So they're going to have to schedule some marquee matchups. They're going to have to play some good teams in the non-conference, because when you're in the WCC, it's really just BYU, and on a good year, St. Mary's. So it's going to be another year Gonzaga playing their competition, and if they don't get tested before that, then they won't get tested to the tournament, and the same result will follow, like we've seen the past decade.
Yeah, we're going to move on to the MLB now, but one last thing I'll throw in there, and no one else can respond to it. Chet Holmgren's got nothing on Oshuna. Moving on to the MLB. We alluded to it early in the New York sports segment, because talking about the Yankees. But the Red Sox, are they for real? They won again today. I had the record wrong in the show notes because I forgot about the games yesterday. They're 11-6 now. They won today. They beat up on Lucas Giolito pretty bad, the White Sox ace. Are they for real? They have a run differential of plus 28. They've scored 96 times and only given up 68 runs. You seem to think not. I think I'm kind of moving in a different direction.
What's up with the MLB giving them the only alternate jersey of the season? I mean,
that is strange.
A little sus.
I mean, the Mets black jersey is coming soon.
Yeah, well, that just hasn't been revealed yet. But it's weird. The Red Sox are not doing what everybody thought they would be doing this season. They were probably primed to be 4th to 5th in the AL East. That's probably not going to happen. But I still don't see them, competing to the point of perennial playoff team, wild card team, or division winner. They probably win 85 games. Lucky.
That's really high.
That's if they can get 85 games, then they're somewhat for real.
85 and 77. I guess that's not that high. That's
it doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah. I guess my brain has just been totally in like the NBA land. Like I'm just transitioning into getting into like MLB and NBA. But like to hear 85 wins like be average is just like was putting me in a blender real quick.
Yeah, if you set an active live over under total and you put it at 85 wins, I would lean under.
You got me real in a tough spot here. Because I said I'd lean the other way on what you think of the Red Sox, but hearing 85 and 77 out loud, I don't think that's going to happen.
It's a lot of wins.
Yeah, I guess I'll take the under. I think the Red Sox are better than – I think they're on this trajectory. I don't know.
JD Martinez is out for blood, though. Like
my thing is I don't know if the pitching for the Red Sox have been like really, really good, which is – I mean, actually, like, has it been that good? Like, they've given up 68 runs. That's kind of like – average, I think, at this point in the season and compared to everyone else, maybe even a little higher than other teams. They've just scored like an unbelievable rate.
Yeah.
Like their lineup is smashing.
Of all the 3-1, and he's got a 3 ERA.
Like you said, JD Martinez out for blood. Rafael Devers is smashing home runs left and right. He had a streak of 4 straight games with a home run.
I've been Alex Verdugo.
Alex Verdugo is making the Red Sox look they won the trade of Mookie Betts. I'm just kidding.
No.
But Verdugo's been playing outstanding. I don't know. I actually think now that I'm really diving in depth to it, I buy not for long because their pitching hasn't even been as good as I thought it's been. It's just been their lineup's been disgusting so far, and I don't think that's going to stay.
Yeah, Bogarts has been playing really good as well, not hitting home runs, but he's been playing really well as well. Yeah,
so I guess I'd have to take the under. I think they finish second or third in that division. Like I said earlier, I still think the Rays are going to win the division. To be honest, you disagreed with that pretty heavily. And I don't know who's going to be the second or third in that spot.
I would go Red Sox go 82 and 80 though. I wouldn't say that under is a hard smash. It will be close.
I like 82 and 80 for them. My question is, are the Yankees going to bounce back and be better than that, though? That's my thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm not sure.
Still early in the season, though.
It's so early in the season. Like I said, they play for basically an entire 6 months, and you have 5 off days a month.
We're 3 weeks into the season. In bulk, people, in bulk.
You won't know anything until July.
That's really what it is. It's like middle of June, late June is when you finally get a grasp on teams. Like things can change, but that's when you get a grasp on how teams are and like what their potential is, stuff like that.
That's the playoff. The playoff race kind of starts. Yeah.
Playoff race starts mid to late July after the All-Star break and trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it really is like, all right, go mode.
Baseball.
Yep. Still sticking on that baseball path. The Dodgers, mentioned the Mookie Betts, are 13-3. They're ridiculous. They're like the Nets in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
But they might be better than Nets with respect to their star power. Talking about the Nets the Nets have like 3 top 15 players in the NBA, which is like unheard of. But Bellinger, Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, Max Muncy, Kenley Jansen, Walker Buehler.
They're everywhere.
May I say more? I think I don't know the exact odds, but I do think the Dodgers they're definitely the favorites to win the World Series like they should be. Like they're the best team in baseball by far. I'm curious to see where it is in retrospect with the Nets. Like who's more of a favorite?
Oh, it's got to be the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think so.
Dodgers haven't lost a series all year.
Yeah. Can someone beat them in the playoffs? That's my question.
I'd say the only challenger in the entire National League would be in their own division, Padres. But then the Padres have to win a wild card game. Like a lot has to happen for that to match up.
I mean, this is biased, and the only reason why I say the Mets could be in that consideration is because they have the starting rotation to match up with the Dodgers rotation. Because obviously the Dodgers got Kershaw, Buehler, Dustin May, Trevor Bauer. When the Mets are fully healthy, Stroman, DeGrom, Carrasco, Syndergaard, Taijuan Walker, they match up. The question is the Mets hitter is going to get to even half of what the Dodgers hitters are? That's the biggest question when you compare those two teams.
Is Bellinger on a 10-day deal right now?
Is he?
I believe he is.
Either way, though.
Either way, it doesn't even matter. Yeah, this team's legit. So legit. Like there isn't a place on the entire batting order that you can be like, oh yeah, that guy's gonna be in a slump. Like, oh my god. I never really took a real look at their roster top to bottom. It's ridiculous. Like even Will Smith, who isn't like some top one catcher in the league. He is legit. He can absolutely hit. He's not the best defender, but he can hit.
I think the Dodgers are going to win the World Series. It's hard to pick someone else. Like even this early in the season, like you just look at all the other teams in the MLB, and then you just look at the Dodgers, and you're just like, that's a team of class of their own. Like not even close.
It's not even close.
Well, that's going to conclude the baseball talk. We got 15 minutes left. We got to get into NBA talk because we have some big things we got to talk about. So the hashtag this weekend in this league is underway, and we talked about the Celtics early, but let's jump right back into them. We talked about the Knicks being the hottest team in basketball, but the Celtics have been very sneaky, and they've won 6 in a row. Are they
also 9-0 on the Bulls right now, 3 minutes into the game? So just
no Zach LaVine though, so be skeptical.
No, we have no Jaylen Brown, no Kemba Walker, so we'll see.
So your team got better.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. But either way, are they finally playing as to what you expected?
Listen, I'm not going to be the Tom Sipe of the equation where I go and anoint them some beastly team. The Warriors, who stink. That game was awesome, though. Lakers stink. Blazers, that game was also awesome. Nuggets, who had the biggest collapse I've ever seen. Their bench is horrible. The Denver Nuggets. Not the Warriors. The Timberwolves, who we let up basically 140 points to, and that just cannot happen. And then the Knicks, and then we ended up losing the Sixers before that. So that has started our win streak. we haven't beaten an elite level of competition, but I mean, on paper, I guess you say we beat the Nuggets, we beat the Lakers, we beat the Blazers, we beat the Warriors. It's definitely better than what the Knicks resume is on their win streak. So I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I will, because I got to see this come into May. I really do, because once the playoffs hit, it's going to be Jason Tatum time. And will that work in the playoffs? It's working right now. He's actually shout out Ben Simmons, because Jason Tatum has eclipsed his career high twice this week. That's pretty cool, 44 and 53. So just a little shout out to Ben Simmons, the Defensive Player of the Year, I guess, whatever.
We're going to get into that in a little bit.
Oh, we're going to get into that in a little bit. But Celtics, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. The game I see everybody click, and efficient game from Kemba Walker and a good distributing game from him. And then a great scoring night, and both efficient from Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, will be the day that I say the Celtics are back. That day could come in just the end of this week. The end of this week where we have a back-to-back against the Suns and the Nets. So that's going to be huge to see what the Celtics are going to do at the end of this week. And then we have a favorable stretch of Hornets, Thunder, Hornets again, Spurs, Blazers, Magic. We have Bulls, and then we come again with the Heat in the second week of May.
We play I think the Celtics Heat play twice in the final week of the season.
They play twice in 3 days, May 9th and 11th.
And
then
I think I'm
the season with Cavaliers, Timberwolves, Knicks.
It's going that late.
We have a really favorable end of the year, honestly. The Nets, I was never worried about the Suns, but they're apparently nice.
I'm telling you, dude, they're an actual threat in the West.
Actual threat. I agree. Nets, who are badly injured right now, and the rest of the teams we play, I really don't see much coming out of them. This is going to be an interesting stretch. I'll know what the Celtics are by the end of the year. And that's crazy. Obviously, that seems a little literal, but I'm going to know what I'm going to see from the playoffs at the end of the regular season. It's going to be fun. That's
fair. See, as a Heat fan, I can't even say that, because playoff Jimmy Butler is a total different person from regular season Jimmy Butler. Playing at his absolute moment, where you saw in the finals, 1-on-3 against the Lakers team last year. He had 40-point triple doubles, fighting them. But anyway, I don't want to talk about the Heat just yet. So I buy that Celtics talk. But you mentioned that game against the Warriors on Saturday.
So much fun.
Steph Curry, I didn't tweet it. I thought about tweeting it. Isn't the best player of all time. He isn't the best player currently in the NBA. But he, I think, is the most ridiculous player in NBA history.
What was he throwing up?
And that's what I mean by ridiculous. He was getting triple teamed by the Celtics basically all night, and he was still just running around the three-point arc, sidestepping, step backing, 35 feet hitting without hitting the rim for three. He had 48. Meanwhile, I'm watching Draymond miss wide open layups to tie the game with 30 seconds left. Steph Curry is the most ridiculous player I think I've ever seen on the court. It's him and KD are the two most talented scorers I have ever seen. Listen, it could be different if I watched Michael Jordan in his prime, but not being able to see him live and being able to see KD and Curry, those two are the most prolific, ridiculous scoring players I've ever laid eyes on.
The way that Curry scores is probably the most ridiculous I've ever seen offensively. Like I said, we didn't watch Michael Jordan live. Durant and Kobe are probably 2A, 2B there for me. They both hit ridiculous shots at ridiculous difficulties, but Steph is just on a different planet as far as the shots that he takes. Yeah, Kobe used to chuck basically anywhere on the court and be either really, really close or hit. But Curry, you just expect it to go in when he's off balance in three guys' face and he's 30 feet out. It's really the most spectacular thing I've ever seen. And I talked about it before, how easy it is to score in this league, but he makes it look so easy. It's out of control. And we talk about his shooting so much. He's a really excellent around-the-rim finisher.
He knows how to get it up in the air.
He knows where to put it. He knows where to put it on the glass and have it just drop in seamlessly. It is masterful watching him play. One of the tightest handles, and he's still a really gifted passer as well. Stephen Curry, I've said this for the past however many years, he's the second best point guard of all time, in my opinion.
Interesting.
You could argue guys like Stockton are a better point guard.
Oh, not Stockton.
I mean,
I'm
Oscar Robertson.
That's it. That's the top three of all time, and I don't think you could
I
debate
don't think
this.
Magic's getting touched.
Magic, Oscar, Curry. If Curry gets an MVP coming into his final in the season, not even finals, just gets a regular season MVP, which he could be this season. He's not going to get it, but he could be. That's the type of season he's having.
So bad. His team is so bad, and I never want to see him leave the Warriors, but his team is so brutal. They're horrible.
They're bad this year.
Nico Mannion's playing 15 minutes a game.
But next year is a different story. It's interesting because they could have a top 5 pick in the draft if the Timberwolves – they own the Timberwolves first-round pick.
That's right.
But if it ends up top 3, they lose it and get it next year unprotected. But they'd have another top 3 player adding to Cat, D'Lo, and Ant, which means it's probably going to be not as good. But say the Timberwolves get screwed in the lottery and end up with the 4th or 5th pick, then it comes to the Warriors.
Then the Warriors get either like our big 4 of whatever. Suggs,
Suggs, Kuminga, Jalen Green. I'm gonna throw Cade out of there because he's going to want Evan Mobley. Throw that in there.
Mobley,
one of those 5.
They had Evan Mobley. Oh,
Evan Mobley. But that's my thing. Like Clay's coming back. Imagine if they get a pick like that.
Maybe.
I actually like what Wiggins has given them. I'm not kidding.
He's trying a little more than he did.
He's playing some good defense. He just needs to be more efficient shooting the ball.
They have no depth. What happened to Eric Pascal?
Exactly, yeah. Their depth is
terrible. Wiseman stunk, and then he obviously got hurt. He's got to make progressions. The Warriors have a lot of work to do, but Curry is spearheading all of their success right now. They just he drops 50 and they can't get wins. So I mean, it all starts with them getting better on offense. It's bad. But
one last thing that I got to say on Steph Curry, when he's on a heater and he's feeling hot, most entertaining player of all time.
Oh, easily. How can you not love just a guy chucking 40 feet out and hitting
like
80% of it?
Yeah, like it's just when he's feeling hot and you just see him step back or sidestep 3. And you just see his body language when the shot goes up. You're like, well, that's not going to hit anything but the net.
No.
It's unreal.
You'd be lucky if you see the net move.
Exactly.
So we talked about the Celtics. We talked about who they played this past week against Steph Curry. Now we're going to move into your Heat. They got a big win against the Nets without Jimmy Butler. And Bam went ISO for the game. Shades of Kevin Garnett, like you want to talk about. What's your opinion on the Heat as of right now?
I don't like where they're at. I do like what happened here. So they lost to the Timberwolves on Friday. All-time low moment. Like, all-time low. Obviously, the Timberwolves are bottom 3 team in the league record-wise.
I was just complaining about beating the Timberwolves, so I can't imagine losing to them.
Yeah, they lost. All-time bad. Jimmy Butler goes back to his Timberwolves days. Calls the team soft the day after.
Good.
Love it. Fired me up.
Do it.
Doesn't play Sunday. Right ankle injury. Yeah, KD played the first 3 minutes of the game and left. But you're telling me the Nets with Kyrie and everyone else, like no Harden, no KD, but Kyrie in the bench versus the Heat without Jimmy Butler, and the Heat still win? Take it out all day. Like, that's a great response to being called soft by your star player. And what I think that I was so happy. I thought I chalked it up as another loss. I was going to be upset, but big win for the Heat, I think. And it will do something for their confidence. Like, you get called soft and then beat the NBA championship favorites the following game, even with their 2 out of 3 best players being injured. It's going to get you some confidence. They play the Rockets tonight, but honestly, I'll get into that in our pick and rolls, but I digress from that. We can move on because we only have 5 minutes left. One thing I want to talk to before we get to our pick and rolls, I'm getting annoyed by Ben Simmons. You threw a shot at Ben Simmons a second ago. We have been openly against Ben Simmons on here. I have tweeted about it.
One of the only basketball arguments we can really agree on.
Yeah, I have tweeted it twice this weekend. I am losing my mind with Ben Simmons. I think every single week I see a new quote from Ben Simmons on from a media outlet. This past one I saw was from GQ. Why are you talking basketball on GQ? I don't know. But he's saying, no one does what I do on the defensive end. I guard 1 through 5. Rudy Gobert, he just guards the inside. Who cares? Stop talking to the media.
Defensive Bam was playing on Kyrie.
Exactly. Here's the thing. I wanted to ask you, who's your defensive player of the year? Mine is definitely not Ben Simmons. Mine is Bam Adebayo. Could be called biased, but when you talk about players guarding 1 through 5, Bam does it, to me, at a more better rate than Ben Simmons. Here's some stats. On Sunday against the Nets, according to ESPN Stats and Info, he held the Nets players 3 of 17 shooting as the primary defender. That's unbelievably good. Specifically, Kyrie Irving was 0 for 8 when guarded by Bam Adebayo, including 0 for 3 in the final minute and a half of regulation before Bam hit the buzzer beater mid-range to win it. One thing I want to say before I turn over to who's your defense player of the year is, because mine's Bam Adebayo. For context, Ben Simmons called himself the defensive player of the year after Kyrie Irving dropped 37 on him. And then they asked him, well, Kyrie just dropped 37 on you. You still think you're defensive player of the year? He said, yeah, he still had a plus minus, and they lost that game. I think he had a plus minus of minus 13. Check that out. I'm losing my mind with Ben Simmons. Can't stand him. I hated him before this thing, but then him just going to every media outlet available and just saying, yeah, I'm the defensive player of the year. You guys better vote me like I guard everyone. I'm losing.
All right. Well, I hate to burst your bubble on the defensive player of the year talk, but I would still go with Gobert. I think he's just like.
I just don't think they'll give it to someone 3 years in a row. Oh, they didn't. He didn't give it last year. Never mind. Wait, no, he did get it last year.
Didn't Giannis get it last year?
Did Giannis get? Yeah, never mind. He didn't get it last year.
Yeah. I think Gobert is just, he makes such a. If Gobert's defense is on that team, I've said it a million times before, I'll say it again, they're not even close to as successful as they are. He basically takes away all paint scoring. It's awesome. It's really it's shades of old NBA, shades of Dwight Howard, shades of Ben Wallace, like guys who don't need to be super versatile offensively but can affect the game on the defensive end. Rudy Gobert has been that guy for Utah for the past half decade, and he'll probably do it for another half decade as well. So I still got Rudy Gobert in that spot.
That's fair. And in our final 3 minutes of the show, we got to get into our pick and rolls. I guess I'll start. My first one, Miami and Houston. I said I was going to pick something from this game. Miami's favored by 5. Don't quite understand this. I'd go Rockets plus 5. Jimmy Butler's not playing. Bam Adebayo's not playing. Tyler Hero's not playing. Why? I don't know why the Hero at home, but without their, well, I wouldn't say Tyler is a top 3 player right now, but without their top 2 players, how could you put, and no Victor Oladipo, obviously still coming back from the knee injury. He will return, though. That's positive news. Never know with him. But with no Jimmy, no Bam, no Tyler, no Victor Oladipo, I can't believe they're favored. I don't know. I'm taking Rockets plus 5.
Rockets plus 5. That's Nick's first pick and roll of the night. I don't mind it. Rockets jelly. The Rockets group that's getting thrown out there tonight is probably gelling more than the Heat group that's getting thrown out. My first one, I'm going to go with the late game first because this is the one I'm more confident in. I'll take Utah minus 6.5 because I guess I was just talking about Rudy Gobert. You know what? I'll take him tonight, and I'll take Utah minus 6.5 against the Lakers. I know it's Lakers are home dog, but they stink, man. They're not good. Dennis Schroeder's their best player. That's
for now.
That's for now. But I mean, is Andre Drummond better than Dennis Schroeder? I don't think so. Andre
Drummond's so inconsistent.
Stinks. I've never been an Andre Drummond guy.
Me neither. We talked about it a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely. So what do you got for your second?
My second pick, I'm surprised this game isn't on ESPN because how good it is, or primetime. Suns Bucks.
Yeah, where is this? Like, is this game really
8 o'clock. It's in Milwaukee. I am going to take Milwaukee minus 3. They just lost their last game to Memphis. I expect the bounce back. Minus 3. It's not a lot of points. You could say it is. I don't think it is. I'm taking Milwaukee minus 3. I think I like that one.
I was leaning towards that one as well, but I will go with a different line. I'm actually gonna go Pacers at home. I know Miles Turner just got hurt, but the Spurs don't have an intimidating force down low that really makes up for these 3 points. I'm gonna take Indiana plus 3 at home versus San Antonio.
Home underdogs.
Home underdogs. So I went a road favorite before. Now I'm gonna go a home underdog. Give me the Pacers plus 3. It's a weird line. Pacers plus 3.
All right, that's your second and final pick and roll of the night. That's going to round out our show. We had a great show, a lot of energy. We're going to be back next week with another great show. NFL draft, my second favorite show. I don't know. The NFL mock draft show and bracketology show are like probably 1A, 1B, my favorites of the year. Like you pencil them in every single time. We'll have at least an hour of that. The other hour, half of it could be more football, NFL draft. The other half could be basketball. We don't know yet.
What's going to happen in the sports world?
That's true. You never know. Absolutely never know. But either way, thanks for listening, guys. Signing off for Tyler Smith and Nic Rohloff. You listen to Director's Cut on WSBU 88.3 The Buzz.